not a world word. Now, the problem with this creation of Facebook metaverse is that, first of all, it will make it will hinders the interaction between people, and second of all, it will not be equally accessible for everyone. Now, so the goal that we want to reach as the opposition side of this debate is that we do not support the creation of Facebook metaverse. Now, before I move on to my arguments, I would like to state my rebuttals. First of we would like to say that the first speaker of the government team seems to be having like a hard time stating on arguments that can be exclusive on their side. We say that all of the arguments that come from the first speaker of the government team are all not exclusive. They said something, she said something about the metaverse can connect all around the world, and also can create like better environment and also better learning for students. We say that these are all not exclusive, because we can do it in our side, and we can also do it, if not equally, but we can also do it better. First of all, the first speaker of the government team states about saying that it can connect all around the world. We say that this is strongly inexclusive, because in our side, we still have social media, we have internet, we have news to access things from all around the world. So this doesn't mean, when we don't support the creation of metaverse, this doesn't mean that we cancel all things that is from the internet. This doesn't mean that we cancel things online, right? We still can connect all around the world without having this creation of metaverse. Now, she also said about saying how it can create better environment, because there will be like less building build, because people will be working online. We say that this will not necessarily be the case. We say that when we have the creation of metaverse, it's just said like, yes, we will be working, there will be like people working online, but it doesn't really like provide reparation. It doesn't give like any thing to solve, like to make the environment better. And then third of all, they said like it has better learning. We said that this is not true, because first of all, we have already go through like online learning before, right? We have seen how like online learning can restrict a lot of our movements, can restrict a lot of our like understanding towards the materials that we are given from school. So we are saying that it is not going to give us better learning, and we say that it's going to be more better if we do learning offline. Now, moving on to my arguments. For this, I have the justification on why we do not support the creation of metaverse. First layer, we said that we're going to lose touch of reality with doing so. We have to realize that we've been put in a situation where we're forced to do our daily lives online, right? We have experienced this before. For example, the pandemic. Now, over the course of pandemic, we're forced to work, study, socialize, entertain ourselves online just by sitting, for example, in front of a computer. We over that situation of pandemic, we're forced to adapt to this lifestyle that has to have the assistance of technology to connect with the outside world, to get on to work. And without it, without technology in this world, in the pandemic world, like without technology, we're going to like, it'll collapse, right? That's we say that it's going to be the same if we support the creation of this metaverse. Now, we say that it is not the world that we want to support, because first of all, it loses human touch or human sense. For example, like sympathy, empathy, and like caring towards other people. Now, when you interact with people online, it is not possible to show your emotions, your like how you actually feel, if you don't actually state it to them, right? Now, we have to understand why the ability to show and sense emotion is important. We can sense, when we can sense people's emotion, we can analyze them, how they are feeling. We can be decent human beings by having sympathy and empathy towards them. Now, what are these like, how are these emotions are shown? These can be shown through like the eyes, their energy, their movements. It all are shown if we see them directly online, offline, right? So for example, when you go to work, when you work your hours, and at the end of your work session, people can see or notice that you're tired, or even maybe you feel sick. So therefore, they won't be like bashing you with questions, for example, or giving you more work, but they'll leave you be, because they can sense those emotions that's unstable. With that, we say that we can still sympathize or empathize with people when it is not through online. Compared to government, in your side, it is not going to be it is not going to be we're not going to be able to be sympathizing or empathizing with people because it's all online. You cannot see that person. You'll probably have like a character of yourself, you can see another character of people, but you will not be able to communicate in like an emotional sense. Now, second layer, we say that humans are social creatures, and that is why we need to interact. We have all learned at school how we know that our human are social creatures. We need other people. We need other people to live. We live in groups, and we need interactions between like humans to like able to survive. Right? We have learned that all, and we say that when we support this creation of the metaverse, we will lose chance or even won't be able to interact because we're busy due to the life we're living online, because we're living this life that we used to be living offline. When we meet other people, when we are able to interact with other people, now with the creation of metaverse, all of our time will be moved online with this like augmented reality that is created, right? And then when we don't interact with other people, there could be two we can say that there's two very harmful things that could happen. First of all, we will be like loneliness. Why? When we have no one to interact, we will feel lonely. Now, why is this harmful? Because first of all, when you feel lonely, you will not be able to communicate your feelings. You will not be able to you will not be able to connect with other people. We say that this is very harmful because it's not how we usually work as a human, right? Day to day, we know how we are supposed to be like connecting with other people and how it is like a huge impact in our lives because we need other people to survive. Like secondly, it can also we say that without like creating so in the end, we say that the creation of this metaverse is only going to bring harm for a human and will not help any of our problems that we are having existing now in the status quo. And that is why we are proud to oppose.
Thank you. To continue the chair of government, I call the second speaker of government. Please welcome.
Am I audible?
Yes.
I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Thank you for the chance that has been given to me. My name is Karen and I am the Deputy Leader of Opposition. First, I'm going to rebuttal the opposition side's argument. They said that it may not be affordable for everyone, but that is totally fine because it is not a must. It's totally up to people whether or not they want to join the metaverse. And it may not get rid of the environmental destruction completely, but at the very least, with the creation of metaverse, the environmental damage will be minimalized. So at least it is still better than nothing at all. And the metaverse is different than social media. In social media, the limit is just through this 2D screen, but in metaverse, you can see or meet them in a 3D space. Therefore, it is a very different concept. They also said that it's going to get rid of people's emotions like sympathy or empathy. But we say that that is not true. The metaverse has no connection whatsoever about your emotions because you're still interacting with people in the metaverse. You can still meet people even similar like how you do it in real life. So it will not make you lose your emotions totally. Moving on to my argument. I will be discussing about the long-term benefits if we establish the metaverse. There will be lots of things that we can get. The first one is, in this era, we are slowly relying more and more to technology. So if we do create the metaverse, then there can be a whole new world where people can interact with each other. Now this can bring lots of potentials. You can go to concert virtually, do online learning, or even work virtually. Now imagine if you could go to work virtually, and it may seem like no difference than doing work online. But in the metaverse, you're not just facing a screen, but rather it's like you're in an actual 3D world. So it is a very wonderful concept that has lots of potentials for our future, which I will explain further. This will also bring a huge profit to the game or digital companies, as they can make more profit from establishing the metaverse, as my first speaker has explained. Therefore, this may also create new potentials or new work fields for many people, because it's still a new world and there will be many more work opportunities, especially in business. Therefore, it will improve our economy. Next, I will discuss further about the benefits for our environment. By creating the metaverse, then that means we create a world where you do things virtually. And by doing so, then people will start to destroy the environmental less. Why? Because once they start in the metaverse, then they won't need to do environmental damage anymore. You won't need to cut down trees or burn down forests in order to gain more space to build a building, for example. And this will also cause less pollution as well. And as the opposition side has stated that it won't do anything, but at least, at the very least, it will still minimize the damage to our environment. So hence, the metaverse will cause less damage to the environment because we're going to do things virtually instead. Now, because of the metaverse is still a new concept to the world, you may have some of your worries whether or not it is safe. But in our system, we'll create a safe protocol with laws, such as we will create a soft safety law so that people can't just do as they please. There will be a law where you can't just do crimes as you please. We will create a safety system that will guarantee people's safety. And we could even have police in the metaverse, so there will be no crime, or at least minimize the crimes that will happen. And again, this metaverse is very useful for situations that is happening right now in the status quo, which is the pandemic. Who would expect a pandemic would come hit us all? Imagine if the metaverse has been a thing before COVID started. Things would have been so much more easier. Like online learning would just be much more practical because you can just have school like usual while you're actually in the metaverse. And you may say that it's bad and people are using it as a runaway from reality, but the metaverse can actually be very useful in urgent situations like we are having right now. And you may think that the metaverse learning is different than the ones that you do from online learning, but it is actually very different because when you're doing online learning, you're just seeing them through a screen or like Zoom, but in the metaverse, you can see them in a 3D space, as I have explained earlier. And you might think that, oh, there might be people that's going to steal my data and stuff. But the thing is, realistically speaking, the metaverse is created by humans. And there will also be other humans that might be able to get a hold of your data. But the thing is, before the metaverse was a thing, like social media, for example, you already know that there will be people that might steal or hack your data. Yet you still upload your data online. And you already know the risk that might happen, but you still decide to upload it. And at the end of the day, this all depends to what the people themselves, whether or not you want to upload your data online. So it all depends on ourselves. We should know the limit, what we could upload online and which we couldn't. And yes, the metaverse may seem like a terrifying thing as it is still a new concept. And yes, that is very understandable because it may seem scary. It's not like how we are used to it in our daily life. But again, how are you going to experience new things if you're scared of them? If that's the way you think, then simply you won't be able to do anything at the end of the day. That is all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the speech. To continue the case of opposition teams, I call the second speaker. Please welcome.
Okay. Wait, I'll turn off first. I'm Alan as the second speaker of the opposition team. My preference just unmute yourself or just use the chat box from feature. It's up to you. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Panels, we see that this metaverse become a new burden for the society. We actually could live without it. This government team is just being on the best case scenario. And before that, I'll be coming to my arguments. But before that, I'll be explaining about my rebuttals and also my rebuttals. According to the second, according to the second speaker of the government team, he said about he rebutted my first speaker arguments about this environment. Well, we say that even though we say that it's not true. You say that it will minimize the destruction of the environment. We say it is not, because industry, we still works on chopping down the trees. We still need those nickels. We still need those materials on industry. We need to make those facilities, those VR, and those material that we use to make this thing called metaverse. We still need those materials, and this destruction on the environment still keeping on, and there is no difference in our side and in your side. Second is about the concept of education. You still keep taking about this thing about you will take on the 3D's 3D's aspect when we are talking about metaverse, but in fact, education is about delivering the ideas and also the teaching of every person that we want. It is not only about seeing and touching other people. We still can see those people throughout Zoom. We can still do online learning. We can still do WhatsApp, and we still could do Google Classroom. And by that, the idea of education is not there. And then lastly is about profits. We say that profit is also less on your side, because we are talking about the budgets that we are that will drop down the economy. For example, like those facilities that has to be provided, those internet, those facilities, for example, like those VR and those material and those database that we have to build again. Those things is a need of money, and other activities, for example, like chopping down the trees, are still there, and those things called profits is still the same in our side. In the house. And then lastly is about your law and police is still weakened down when we're talking about cyber. Hackers are still there. Hackers are still could defeat those police and those law, and by this all of the arguments of the government team has been taken down. Okay, moving on to my arguments. I have some arguments above. I have 5 arguments above. One argument is the thing that is the idea of we can still live without it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not talking about we will stop this online learning. We are not talking about we are going to stop this thing called WhatsApp. We are not talking about we are going to stop Google Classroom. Online learning and online thing are still there. If you want connection, if you want to talk to other people, if you want to do other things, you can do it. You can do WhatsApp. You can phone your friends. You can take a video webcam and then do Zoom with your friends. It is not a big difference. You want learning? Well, you can do it from work. You want work from home? Yeah, then you can do it. You can do Microsoft. You can do Zoom. It is not a big difference with our side. In a comparison, our side are more beneficial because because we will still provide what we can give, and what they can give is still the same. The difference about this metaverse, we still can live without it, and without this metaverse, we as human can still live without it. Second argument is about these cyber criminals. Ladies and gentlemen, panels, we see that this access about metaverse is really bad for ourselves. It's really bad for the society. We're talking about this access where other people, where other hackers could eventually go next to you and talk about this thing. For example, like harassment. We're talking about data. We're talking about those money that you are inserted to the data, where eventually those money could lose. Those data could lose in your site. And other than that, cyberbullying is something that we are facing also, and this is not what we wanted. Access in here is really widened because we as children could be, for example, we as children, because of this metaverse, we could go to the club, we could go to the bar, and we didn't want those things. Parents didn't want those things, and parents shouldn't let this thing happen. We didn't want this access to become something bad to us. These criminal things could be eventually harm the society. For example, this data and also other things. Child laborers, child that have to works that has to study, they eventually could work because they have those access. They could go to other places, for example, like this places to work, and they work. And child labor is not what we wanted, ladies and gentlemen. Childs want to study, and this is really bad, and people can eventually use of this. Hackers are really widened, and in our side it is way more better because we didn't provide these cyber criminals. And then third argument, It is about health. Ladies and gentlemen, eyes problems. We're talking about external problem, for example, like our eyes, our visual, our laziness. We are talking about our health. We are talking about our exercises. When we work on traditional way, we can still exercise. While on this health problem, on the other side, where they want to create this metaverse, they will use VR all the time, and this is not what we wanted. We want a better place for those people to eventually maintain their health. For example, like this, those eyes problems, many people will got minuses, many people will got plus, many people will got those problems on their visual and also eyes, and that's not what we said. In a comparison with in our side, we are way more beneficial because we could eventually still works on our phone, but we could eventually see other things that are not visually on internet. And it means we provide way more better health than the other thing. Even if they can walk in metaverse, I say it is less efficient because they are being lazy also. And laziness is something that we will also face because they just sleep and open an eyes and voila, they have to work again on VR, and that is not what we wanted. Fourth argument, I have two layers for my fourth arguments. First, my argument is about burden. First layer is about economy. Ladies and gentlemen, notice about these facilities, appliances that we have to use. Notice this thing called VR that we have to pay. All of those things needs money, and when we are directing those activities to metaverse, it means that we are talking about those appliances that we have to pay, we have to buy. And those things is not we wanted. For the people that didn't have this money, they wouldn't continue and follow this trend, and this is not good for us. Economy is one thing that we will face also. And how about those people?
1 minute left.
How about those people that eventually didn't have this money and they can't pay and they will be fired? And then second layer is about skills. Skills, for example, like skill is a must. We're talking about these IT and also technological skills. And how about the people that didn't have this skill? Those workers that didn't know about technology, they will be fired down, and this will press down the number of economy in that city. And that is not what we wanted. For the people that didn't know these skills, and also the government team didn't give us any alternatives to those things. How for the people that didn't have these skills, for those adults that didn't have those economy and also didn't have those skills, this government team didn't give us any alternatives about this thing. And last argument is about the malpractice on artificial intelligence. For example, like our database are being broken down by people that didn't that inappropriate. They're breaking down, and that is not what we wanted. And that is all from our debate. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for the speech. To continue the case, I call the third speaker of government. Please welcome. Okay, Ecclesia, are you here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, you're audible.
Hello?
Yes, you're audible. You may start now.
Thank you. Okay. I would like to begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I, as a third speaker, I would like to deliver my arguments, rebuttals, and reasoning on why this House supports the creation of Facebook Metaverse. First of all, I would like to deliver my rebuttals on the things that the second speaker of the opposition team has delivered. First of all, I would like to, before I deliver my rebuttal, I would like to clarify something. I would like to clarify that the reason why we support this is because it upgrades the things that we have now. Things will become better because yes, we can connect to other people using social medias that we have right now, using WhatsApp, Instagram, and school education school like Google Classroom and Zoom, etc., etc. But the reason why we support this is because it will upgrade it and fix the problems that we currently have on those things right now, which I will continue to discuss further down the line. First of all, I would like to deliver my first rebuttal. They say that the hackers will still be a thing, that you would lose money that you put onto the digital currency because hackers can easily take it and you will lose all your money, and so scary. But for this, I would like to say that to counter this with a solution, you can easily counter this by either using a VPN or using a security to secure your online money. And not only that, the people who provide accessibility to online money can make sure that it is secure enough so that will never happen. For example, pretty sure you all know the commercial that GoPay or Gojek has presented on how if you transfer your money onto the digital world, it will never be stolen by hackers because you can track it back and receive it back thanks to their security team. And you can easily implement that onto the metaverse system that we are trying to support right now. Onto my second rebuttal. They say that it would not minimize the environmental damage because we would still have to do it in the real life. Has already given the reasoning why it will minimize the environmental damage. Because when a company wants to make a building, when they want to make a business for their meetings, for their internal teams, they need to destroy the forest and environments to help them make the actual companies. But with the metaverse, they don't have to do that because it would completely minimize it because they could do it virtually. Now, onto my third argument. They say that kids will be problematic on this because they can go to the disco, the virtual disco clubs, and other bad things. But for this, I would like to say that I would like to give a solution, which is age restriction. Every website, like YouTube, Google, has something called an age restriction. When parents give their child access to the digital world, they need to turn on the age restriction to make sure those kids can't go to those bad sites, those bad places. And you can do the same on the metaverse. You can do the same by putting an age restriction system onto the metaverse to make sure that will never happen. The fourth thing I would like to question is, how does child labor happen in this? Because this is all digital. How does child labor happen in all this? The next thing I would like to rebuttal the fact that they say that by doing this, it would lessen their movement. It will make people lazy. It would make them not wanting to exercise. And yet they bring up VR. I'm pretty sure you all know what VR is. You can still see it, but you can at the same time still move. And that eliminates the fact that you can't exercise. And not only that, we're trying to expand it. We're trying to expand the VR. In which we don't only see, but we can also hear, touch, and etc., etc. In which you can actually not be lazy and actually move your body. The sixth thing that I would like to bring up is the fact that they say payment for the workers, for the companies that has already brought up upon this. First of all, I would like to say that most of this is for either entertainment or companies and other things and education. For the first one is entertainment. Entertainment is, like we all know, is luxury. So not everyone has to pay for this metaverse because, again, entertainment is luxury and you don't need luxury in your life. And second thing is the fact that they say companies still have to pay and it won't be profitable. But I say it is profitable because this is investment. This is we're talking about the long run here. Yes, they're sacrificing money to actually have access to this metaverse, but by doing so, they can actually gain more money by actually having more reach to other people around the world in a much more efficient and much more easier and much practical way, other than just social media and other thing, social media like WhatsApp and Instagram. Because in this one, you can actually interact with them. And lastly, they say that not all the workers can pay for this metaverse, but in which this I say, since when does the workers pay the company? When you sign up for a job, you expect the job to pay you. So when you're so when you enter a job, they already set up the facilities for the workers. They already set up the building, they set up the chair, they set up the things that the workers need to actually work there. Because it doesn't make sense trying to make your workers pay. And that is all that is all I have time for today. Thank you for your time and attention.
Okay, thank you. To continue the case and to close all the case, I call the last speaker of negative team. Please welcome.
So, am I audible?
Yes, but can you louder your voice?
How about now?
Okay.
So I will start my speech at 3, 2, 1. So ladies and gentlemen, before I starting my speech, I will say giving some. So opposition side is a team with very clear stance. We will focus on the ground of realism, safe and better realism rather than a variety work that the government have already stating that will cause harm or damage more actors if we support the creation of Facebook metaverse. Before I starting my speech, I would like to say some I would like to rebuttal some the argument from the government. First is about the child labor. So in the like the government have already stated, we can like easily find a job in the metaverse. So also it could be easily accessed by all of the people in there. It also applied to the child. Maybe the child like doing, oh, I can do this job, I can do this job, like. And about the extra extraction that the government is asking, they can easily fake them. We already see like how the extra extraction work. They just asking about, is this your, are you like not are you already an adult or something? They just only to click yes or no. So in metaverse, they can have this called an avatar. So they can fake their identity or their age. So they can easily faking their age. So it wasn't a problem. Now, moving on about my clarification. First, my first speaker have said that about the social media and the metaverse. We have many kind of social media, and it already can help us connect to people around the world. We don't need metaverse anymore to doing that because we already have many kind of social media like WhatsApp, Line, we can, or Instagram, or maybe TikTok. You could also count that. Now, moving on about my class. First, about cyberbullying. Cyberbullying, like what my first speaker have already stating about cyberbullying, that someone. And also, I would like to asking about something that the government has already stated. They could feeling the emotion. How about the pain? Are they also could feel the pain that coming from the metaverse or not? Because they could feel the emotion. So there's possibility they also could feel the pain coming from the metaverse. Now, about my example, the privacy issue. They could track our behavior online exists in the metaverse. My first example is like they're using VR headset will include eye tracking technology. So marketers or advertisers have potential to see from our headset data where exactly we are looking in our immersive experience and for how long. That's violated our privacy rights. Now, another example is about companies that also able to monitor our physical reaction as we link to wearable and haptic device that measure our emission and physical reaction. It's also the same with like, are they feel the pain in that word? or that cause from that word in the feeling is like feeling real. So if someone like hurt them or stab them in that word, are they also feeling that big pain in that? Now, moving on about what my second speaker talking about the health problem. My second speaker already stating about the eyes problems, and also about the body didn't move that much. Even if they move that much, it's less effective. And also there's a movie about like Ready Player One. In this movie, the work is full of this kind of thing that have some concept with metaverse. People in that like more focus on their metaverse than the real world. They didn't doing their work properly in the real world. They like neglect their family, their real friends, their real world, real life. They neglect that and more focus on the metaverse. Now, also there is a health concern about this metaverse. There is this called the VR hangovers. It is a known phenomenon after using the metaverse, I mean the virtual for a long term. And also this is something that called post VR sadness. It is after you experience a great immersive world in those virtual reality, and then have to come back into the real world, but you are like didn't pleased with your real life. You're more happy if you are in the metaverse. So when you come back to the real world, you feel depressed and sad. So this could cause people to more focusing on the metaverse. They neglect their real life, their real value of life. They just more focus on something that could be fake. Now, moving on to my second speaker arguments about just giving more burden to the people. It's about first, yes, need more budget. The government stating about that, the government team stating that the government should like should provide this metaverse so all people could access that. First, I would like to say where the budget came from. How do we get the money? Tax. The tax already need to provide many other things than this, because this is not really important actually to apply in our world. Now, for the internet is still not accessible in every world, in every place of the world. There's still some place that the internet couldn't access. About the facilities, like the VR set, how do you provide all of them with the VR set? Where's about the VR set came from what materials? Is it enough to make for many billions of people in the world? And about the poor people that couldn't afford that. And about the poor, also the people that didn't know how to using technologies. How about them? Will you exclude them in the work that you want to make in the metaverse? So they just living in the real world alone while you guys keep more facing focus on the metaverse. And also metaverse isn't as simple as it seems. It's complicated. You should really taking more focus on how those people will handle this kind of complicated things. Now, I would like to stating that their side lack of the mechanism. Why I said that? They didn't their side of the house didn't provide the metaphor tools. They didn't explain us about how to provide tools for all the people in the world. Second, they didn't studying about how people that didn't understand about the technology, how they can help them. And third, they didn't actually tell us about how to protect our data in metaverse. About the protecting data, I also want to studying about something. They said that metaverse and social media is also can like this social media is also can be hacked or tracked. Our information. How is it worse than metaverse? Actually, it is. Metaverse data get tracked or get hacker is worse than social media. Like what I have said before about privacy issue. They can track our physical reaction or more, and it is more dangerous than our data from the social media. Now, I would like to ask you about no crimes. I mean, Oh, thank you.
Okay, replay speaker from negative teams. Please welcome.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Akila. I was the first speaker, and now I'll be reply speaking for the opposition side of the yes, I will be reply speaking for the opposition side of the House. I will be starting my speech. Hold on, I will time myself. I will be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Now, panels, we have explained on our side why we do not want to support the creation of this metaverse. We have explained how this metaverse can bring us all these harms and how we think that it is a better stand to stay with the status quo, and that is enough. Now, we have explained why we justified not supporting the creation of the metaverse. That is, one, that we lose touch of reality. We have explained that through this metaverse and online world, it hinders us from being able to show emotions, how we can show sense of sympathy, caring, and empathy towards other people. We have explained why it's very important for us human to be able to do so, and through metaverse, we can achieve that. The government misunderstood our point, saying that on our side, emotions are eliminated when metaverse is created, but they misunderstood, and panels, that is not our points, ladies and gentlemen. Second of all, why it's justified to not support is that humans are social creatures. We have explained how we need to interact, how when these metaverse is created, it's going to our time is going to be like mostly used for this online living that we have. Hence there will be no like enough time to interact with the outside and with other people. This will cause like loneliness and like unwanted feelings, for example, like depressed and unstable health mentally and physically. Our second speaker has explained about how the status quo is enough, how in our world we have enough access to access around the world, how our social media varies, and it is all enough for the world right now, and how like we have also explained that the metaverse is not needed. Second of all, my second speaker has already explained how it metaverse can make more cyber criminals. Well, now cyber criminals already exist. It will be harder to track them when this metaverse is created, because again, tracking a cyber criminal is more tricky than tracking them like offline, right? It's going to be harder for these criminals to be caught compared to in our side, where it is more in the online world. And we say that these cyber criminals can target so much that it is a very harmful aspect that we need to notice. Now, third of all, my second speaker has explained about the burden that it has, how it is not accessible, how it needs facilities and appliances for this metaverse to be accessible to everyone, and how these facilities and appliances that I said has high prices, and also how not everywhere in the world has like internet to access this like metaverse. So it's going to be government has to answer that burden of proof on how for these for people who are cannot access the metaverse, they have to answer how to cater that problem. Now, my second speaker has also stated on how it can damage it can badly affect health, for example, like the eyes, or it can restrict daily movement, creating a stiff body. And we say that these are all enough harms to say that we do not need this metaverse, and we say that the status quo is enough. Panels, we have to understand that the opposition fails to bring enough benefits and fails to prove how the status quo is not enough as of now. We have to understand that we have to need the government to be able to prove how metaverse is really needed at the moment, and they failed to prove that. And so is why in our side we are proud to oppose.
Okay, to cause all the case, I call the reply speaker of government team. Please welcome.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Right, so I'm going to start my reply speech in 3, 2, 1. Throughout this debate, we as the government team have stated our arguments on why we agree on this motion, and the opposition team has also stated their arguments too. And I am going to summarize the whole debate. First of all, our team has stated why we said that the metaverse has more benefits than harm. We've said that it will cause less environmental damage, and that the opposition team said that it's not going to do anything. But we have stated before that at the very least, it will minimize the damage already done to environment. And we also stated again that the metaverse is not a must. Those who can't afford or just doesn't want to get the metaverse doesn't have to. And because they said that there might be people who doesn't want to or can't get the metaverse, so why did they say that they will be left alone in the real world? That's weird. And then they said that there will be children free to go to bars or clubs. But ladies and gentlemen, we have stated before that there will be laws that control things such as this. And the metaverse will have an age restriction system. So there is no need to be scared of their children going to bars or clubs. And yes, tracking criminal is hard to do, especially if it's online. But we say that it is not impossible. We already know how it will be harder to cut them while they're in the metaverse. Hence, we will of course strengthen our laws too. That is very obvious. Then they also said that it will harm us physically, like our eyes. But it's not like it will be using the metaverse 24/7 like we always do, like we do it on phones or devices. There of course will be a limit. And then they kept saying that we already have social media and that we don't need the metaverse. But we have repeated over and over again that the metaverse is different than social media. We already explained that in social media, you are limited by a 2D screen where you're only able to see and hear them. Where in the metaverse, you could see them face to face similarly like how you do it in real life. So it was a very repetitive for them to keep repeating the same argument over and over again. And when we already did the rebuttal to this argument. Then the opposition said that they are scared about hackers stealing our data. But as my third speaker has said, there is still a data protection thing such as VPN, so it's not a valid argument. Then again, they said that it will make people lazy. But no, you'll still move in the metaverse where you'll still be moving your body, and it's not like you're just not moving completely at all. They also mentioned that it won't be profitable or that they won't get any money, but you could still work in the metaverse. You're still interacting in the metaverse. It's not like you're only having fun in the metaverse, but you could still go to work, go to school, and many other things in the metaverse. Our team has explained our reasons logically. We said that there is no need to be afraid of what's to come in the metaverse. It is understandable because it is still a new concept, but this is a new era where we rely on technology more. So it is only normal that the metaverse is created. Because sooner or later, such a thing as the metaverse will still exist, however way you want it. And lastly, we would restate again that if you're still afraid of what's to come, then nothing will change. You will be left behind while the world is moving forward. Therefore, we say that our team deserves to win because we have explained our arguments and our reasons properly. We gave our many examples, solutions, and our arguments are more relevant. That is all for me. Thank you.